I feel like we should have some sort of like secret pre-show thing for the video viewers.
Okay. Everyone, guess what this is. And if you get it right, nothing will happen. And if you get it wrong, the Earth will explode. So guess what it is.
No pressure. All right.
Okay. Leave a comment below.
What
Take it away, Kevin.
What is it though?
You have to you have to answer.
This is going to be bothering me the entire podcast now, and we can't even refer to it on the podcast part of the podcast.
Well, here, I'll give you a better look.
Well, it's not well lit. Angle it so that you basically got like Oh, okay. No, I get what that is now. Okay.
Look, see, there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Whew. Alrighty. And some of the audience may as well. Oh, man. But anyway, hi, video viewers, probably YouTube viewers, right? Yeah. Hi. Alex, say hi. What is that?
It's a circuit board.
Yeah, but what does it do?
Nothing.
And don't say like conveys electrons. Like what?
It has no components on it. It does nothing.
But it's got stuff printed on it.
Well, yes, it does. It's for like you put the character displays in them, and then you can pretend to have a time machine.
It's okay. All right, fine. If you're not going to take this seriously, we should just start the podcast, I guess. I mean, I'm so glad I have 3 monitors now because I need all 3 because I've got
to deal with me, I'm sure.
Well, no, because I have you. Well, because you have to be there in full screen so I can capture you, and then I've got to be able to record the capturing or monitor the capturing, and then I have the show notes in the 3rd monitor. So this is like the first time where I'm using all 3 of these for something that's not like
a video game.
Euro Truck Simulator. Yes. Okay. All right. Are you ready? Should we podcast?
No. We're done now.
All right.
All right. I'll concede.
All right. One of the things that I noticed is that basically every time now, oh man. Now, if we're recording this live, I actually do have to get one of those sound clip thingies. Because now the intro music will have to come in.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Shoot. Yeah. We're just going to have...
Or you could not, and then just... That'll only be if you listen to the post-recorded version.
That's true. Yeah, but that's true. The music could be better. I could... Yeah.
Well, you can't change it now.
Can't I? We could at least, like... We could, like, at
all
least...
right. I'll let you pull a Doctor Who. Doctor Who changes up their theme.
Right. So basically just have, like, someone who knows anything about mixing music take the song and make it sound good.
I don't know if that's possible.
All right. Well, fine. Thanks. All right. Welcome to the Code Monkey Podcast, the podcast so podcast it is now available on video. The trolley problem isn't just for philosophers anymore. All of science is wrong, and Star Trek is poised for one hell of a comeback. I'm your host, Kevin Giese, and with me, as always, is my loyal co-host. Martians may call him, but we here know him as Alex Bragdon. Alex, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well, and in 2 dimensions, plus a dimension of time.
So
I guess
3
dimensions?
Wow.
There's 3 dimensions. Also, is audio a dimension?
Yes. Well, I mean, if video's a dimension, clearly.
Well, video is 2 dimensions. But neither of those 2 dimensions actually encode the audio information. So is audio a 3rd dimension?
Video's not just 2 dimensions. You've got X and Y, and then you've got brightness, you've got saturation and hue.
Oh.
So you've got 5 dimensions for video, plus then audio. And if we record it in stereo, which we don't anymore, we used to, and then I stopped, so I was trying to keep file size a little bit smaller.
So we're like 8,000 dimensions.
6 dimensions.
You can round it to 8.
Between, yeah, if you round up.
Yeah, rounding is important.
Oh man, how was your week, Ben, Alex? What have you been up to?
Nothing, just things.
Okay.
Just normal lifey things. How about you?
Yeah, normal lifey things too. Guess what machine I'm joining you with on what? I don't know.
Your phone?
Close. No, I have my Windows machine and it is working, Alex.
It's working.
It's working.
And what has that enabled us to do?
Well, so yeah, now we are on video now, which is crazy.
This isn't really a podcast then.
Yes, it is.
Is it? It's a vodcast.
No, see, podcast is a broad term for thing that is syndicated, basically.
Are we syndicated? Do we play it like 8 o'clock on
We are
CBS
syndicated. We have an
now?
RSS feed, Alex. That is the definition of syndication.
I feel like we should be on an old people's homes now. Like, that's what syndication means, right?
Oh my god! Can you? There's probably now is there like some TV land of the future, but for like YouTubers and stuff, where all they do is like they play like old Zay Frank videos and.
Yep, that's definitely gonna happen.
Oh man, and yeah, that's gonna be amazing. Oh, well, it is kind of weird though because everything is so ephemeral now, right?
Yeah.
That
People
I do
just
sort of
delete
wonder,
videos
like, will we even have? Will there be like an oldie station for this type of media? Because generally, we don't even care about it the week after we've seen it.
Yeah, I have no idea what videos I watched last week.
So,
I think I watched one from this dumb guy. I don't know. He had a beard.
Okay. But do you feel like when you're in a retirement home and stuff, you're going to be like, man, I wish I could watch old YouTube videos from the early noughts?
Well, probably. But I probably also will have plenty of pudding to distract me.
That's true. Maybe.
Yeah.
Though, I don't know. Pudding may have been outlawed. At that point.
I don't want to live then. I do not want to live in a future where pudding has been outlawed.
I don't know, man. We got to keep those healthcare premiums down. No more pudding. Or you can blend gruel in the shape and form of pudding?
I want Soylent pudding.
Oh, God. Okay. No, not even a little bit.
But yes, we're on video.
Yes. So, hello. We can wave to you. So, if you are a loyal listener.
I don't have any arms.
What's that?
You're very insensitive.
Alex,
I don't have any arms.
I'm sorry. I apologize. That's very insensitive of me. If you are interested in, so basically, before we launched this season, we were tweeting out and being like, "Hey, suggestions," and "Hey, what do you consume your podcasts on?" and things like that. Some of that included things like SoundCloud, which I am working on still, or maybe will be available. I don't know. I'm guessing. I don't know. We'll have to see. By the time this episode comes out, we're making a push to try and get onto SoundCloud with this podcast. We're also now on video because apparently a lot of people like to listen to podcasts on YouTube.
Yes. So probably you'll just have minimized this in the corner and you won't be able to see it. I can't imagine anyone's going to actually watch the video.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we're entertained.
Maybe.
I could see like this... like people put on like news talk show stuff.
If they had 2 monitors, I can see people with 2 monitors may watch the video.
Yes, I mean there are a couple. It's occasionally enjoyable to watch that sort of thing. I don't know. Some of the time,
if I had a second monitor or like I had my laptop playing it or something, I might have like the actual video showing. But like with Hello Internet and stuff, I just minimize it.
So you listen to Hello Internet over YouTube?
Okay, like it depends.
This is so weird to me. Like this, I can understand it if people are actually recording faces, but the whole flat screen with just like voices over it to me is like, well, why not just audio files?
Well, the YouTube stream is actually behind the actual podcast schedule. So usually, if I'm like going back to look for something, I will use the YouTube thing, or if I'm gonna like. I want to re-listen to a particular episode for whatever reason, which I've done on like a handful of occasions. Then it's just more convenient to do it on YouTube.
That's interesting.
Pull out my phone. Yeah,
but you could just pull out your phone and then just...
my phone is in my pocket and my hand is on the keyboard.
But you've also... There are podcast apps for compute... I don't know.
I have one installed, but like... I'd rather use YouTube because I'm already there.
Wow, you should be a marketer. That seems like a proper Mad Men pitch thing right there.
I market air.
Wow.
Yeah.
There is huge demand. Well done for that.
Yeah. In fact, I drove myself out of business because everyone wanted it.
I don't think that's how.
No, because I was marketing for another company. Like, so the company that provides air had hired me as a marketer. I got everyone to use it, and there was no one left to sell to, so they fired me.
So air is not something you need more than once?
Well, no, but it's addictive, so
so there's no need to market. Right, okay.
Right, yeah.
But at the same time, like there are still ads for Coke. Like, it's not like Coke is gonna like, oh my gosh, I wish that I if only I knew of some beverage. Like, if only I knew of some soft drink that tasted like a cola. Like, you don't need to market Coke, and yet there's a huge amount of marketing for Coke.
There is. And there's like that polar bear, which I never understood. And I wonder if they're going to have to be able to keep using the polar bear because of global warming.
Oh, man. That's a good point.
That may be the turning point where companies decide to fight against global warming. Because Coca-Cola can't use their mascot anymore because they're about to go extinct.
I wonder if polar bears is just like a reminder, like a general nudge toward like North Pole and remember our associations with Santa and Christmas time and that whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, so like when you can't, because obviously you can't use Santa as a marketing gimmick outside of the holiday season, but polar bears like at least maybe force you to make that connection in the back of your mind.
I'm sure there's some psychological thing. I'm not a psychologist. I could pretend to be a psychologist. Kevin.
Yes.
How did that make you feel?
Marketed to.
And what did you think about that?
I agreed.
Okay, good. That was a good session. That'll be $300,000.
All right. Well, thank you. I very much appreciate your time. Same time next week, right?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Should we get to some of our stories then? Well, actually, no. Before we do this, I should say, if you are interested, because this is the whole reason we're bringing up this darn thing. Okay, if you are actually currently watching this in video form, good job, you found it. If you are not, we will have a link on the Code Monkey podcast on CodeMonkeyPodcast.com and in the show notes for this episode. I believe I'll have the actual YouTube URL soon, but I don't want to say that necessarily because you've got to have stuff uploaded and stuff before you get everything set.
Yeah.
I have been uploading, so the back episodes are going to be uploaded with sort of the flat background. Although I did add some sort of like lighting blob thing, so it's not just completely static.
Why?
For reasons, Alex.
Why? You're wasting the Earth's resources, but whatever.
Dude, it took a very long time for the MacBook to render.
I'm sure.
It's like, oh man, all right. Here is a 20 gigabyte video file for what is an audio podcast with a flat image.
Well, no, it's not a flat image anymore because you deflattened it.
It's just got some little lighting effects. That's all. It's just to give it a little bit of motion, make it so because I don't like video when you can't tell if something is frozen, as in, oh, the buffering thing is happening or it's broken, versus, oh, there's supposed to be nothing happening.
Okay. What? Okay.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
Yep. Don't argue with me on this one.
I won't. You're the one who spent your time and my resources on it, but whatever.
Your resources?
My resources. I own the planet's Earth's resources. All of them. They're mine.
Okay. We're going to definitely have to circle back on that one. But if you do want to watch this on YouTube, if YouTube is your preferred platform, please go ahead. And actually, even if you don't, maybe subscribe to the Code Monkey Podcast channel anyway. Because, it'll help us get this podcast out there, get it into the arms of loving parents I don't know. We need adoption.
Here's this incentive for you to go subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Okay.
When I finish my time machine, I will post next week's winning lotteries numbers on the YouTube channel for just a few minutes. So you have to be subscribed to the channel. It'll be like in a video, and it'll be announcing next week's
Alex, I'm not sure I'm giving you access to the channel.
I'll have a time machine. I can go to the forward into the future and get a quantum computer that can just brute force the password.
I assume you would go back in time and then just build a backdoor in a Google.
Yeah. See, there's like a million
while you're
things.
Buying stock and stuff.
Yeah, there's a million things. So yeah, you definitely want to be subscribed to the YouTube channel if you want to see next week's lottery numbers. So yeah.
Do our listeners play the lottery?
Well, they would if they knew the answers.
Well, even then, though, I'm sure that you can find other people that will also tell you, here are next week's lottery numbers. And still, somehow I managed to resist the urge to go buy lotto tickets.
But I'm very trustworthy, and they're not.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
I own all of the Earth's resources. I must be trustworthy.
Well, okay. Or a benevolent despot, one of the two.
One of the two, but you might as well. It's a 50-50 shot at that point. Either you win or you won't. 50-50 chance.
All right.
2 possibilities, equally as likely.
Yep, that's how stats work. Oh man, speaking of stats, and now I'm going to reorder our show notes a little bit. There is a video that is very important and good, Alex.
Yes.
There's a video by Veritasium.
It proves that humans are psychic and can see into the future.
Yeah, well, no, not at all.
That's exactly what it proved.
Exactly? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, well, anyway, so this video is about the reproducibility crisis. So you may have heard about this. I think we've talked about this a little bit on the show.
Yeah.
This is when we need that continuity person to be like, Kevin, you've talked about this 8 times on the show. Shut up. Like, just move on. You've brought this up a million times. But no, so the reproducibility crisis is this whole thing that mainly started off in, I believe, the psych field, that some psychologists were like, hey, let's do a meta-analysis. What are you doing?
I'm psychologing you.
Oh, okay.
Like,
you realize you're on video now. You can't just like flip off the camera and things.
Well, no.
Okay.
I hit the mic. I hope you're happy.
Well done. Now I'm going to have to go through and figure out. I don't even know what to do. No, maybe I just won't edit them now. Maybe we're getting completely unedited podcasts. I don't know.
Whatever.
Anyway, did a meta study, tried to reproduce a whole bunch of studies that were published, discovered, hey, a lot of these don't work.
Mm-hmm.
Veritasium made kind of a video talking about like, hey, is science worthless?
Yes.
The conclusion, of course, is yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're done here. We can just kind of pack up and go eat Smurfs. You don't eat, not Smurfs.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. I meant to say Peeps, but I said Smurfs.
Why would eating Peeps even have anything to do with this conversation?
Well, because it's a thing to do that isn't science.
Okay.
I got overwritten. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what my brain is doing, Kevin.
Oh, man.
We shouldn't record these on Fridays.
Well, we generally try and record these on Thursdays.
I know. Someone who will go nameless requested to record on a Friday this time.
Yeah. That darn nameless person. And probably the same guy who also submitted...
No, I know for a fact it's not the same person.
All right, the petition. Anyway, okay.
So science is worthless. Well, Moving on.
So this video talks about some of the ways that you can do bad science, basically.
Yeah.
So, for example, like, hey, I think that poking Alex in the face will make him cry.
No.
It turns out not to be the case.
No.
But I could go, I really want this to be the case. So I'm just going to poke him enough times, and then he'll cry. And then as soon as he cries, I stop. I don't collect any more data.
Okay.
And then I go, oh, look, there's a correlation right there. Yeah. That's what happens.
And that's not really the thing I took away from that video. It wasn't like they were forcing things to be wrong.
Right.
It was just that, like, statistically speaking, because of our acceptance rates, we have a fairly low and sort of arbitrarily picked 5% acceptance rate.
Well, no, but also like he did also bring up that there were things like, hey, let's measure one input and 5 outputs and see if there's a correlation.
No.
So basically, you go like, hey, because we're just dealing with the sample size, it's much more likely that you're going to get a correlation out of one of the. If I say I'm going to measure everything that Alex does tomorrow. And I'm going to say, like, all right, one day I poke him in the face, the other day I don't poke him in the face. There's going to be some pattern that just happens to coincide with the days that I poke you in the face. I can be like, oh, when I poke Alex in the face, he speaks French sometimes that day. Or I don't know, whatever the thing may be. This is, yeah.
I don't really know any French.
I don't know. But okay, like the days that I poke Alex in the face, he goes to Chipotle. Right?
Okay. Well,
but that may not have been my hypothesis to begin with. It's just because I'm tracking all of this information, I go like, oh, hey, look, Chipotle that's one. So I can go like, hey, poking Alex's in the face makes him go to Chipotle.
Yeah, it's just looking for
whereas it may have been that is not true at all. It could have been like, hey, poking Alex in the face means that he rides his bike to work. Yeah, it's just because you're measuring all these sorts of different things, it's much more likely that you're going to find some sort of correlation because you're measuring way too many things and you're not setting up your hypothesis in advance.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a problem. That wasn't the strongest takeaway that I took from the whole thing.
Okay, what was your strongest takeaway then?
Was that because I've always heard you want to look for certain changes And you want to make sure that the probability of those changes just happening randomly is less than 5%. That's like sort of the standard thing. And I learned that in high school, and I've had it repeated in college and all that stuff. And then he just sort of casually mentions, like near the beginning of the video, that no, that just number was sort of arbitrarily made up by this one guy and put in a book, and everyone just sort of adopted it for no real reason. That's the biggest problem to me. Like, this is the standard number that, like, all papers are published yay or nay on.
Well, not all papers, because he also mentions that, you know, other sciences use much more strict numbers.
Yeah, but, like, still, it's this number that I've heard a lot, and it's just made up for no reason. Like,
well, but the thing about it, Alex, there's any number that you decided on would be chosen basically for no reason.
Well,
it's the point where we throw up our hands and we go, that's good enough.
We need to do a scientific study on what the correct number is.
That's not how.
And it'll be recursive. It'll make a recursive call to itself to figure out what number it should use.
Okay, there we go. I think you solved it.
I have.
The really sad thing is that there are. That's the really crazy thing to me is like situations where bootstrapping recursion actually does work.
Yeah.
Like just the idea that can be a thing just seems insane to me. Like languages that are compiled in themselves just blow my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I'm like, how does that even, what? It's like you build a scaffold and then you build like a beautiful, I don't know, a marble statue on top of the scaffold, and then you remove the scaffold and then it's just sitting there in the air. And you're like, that doesn't actually make any sense.
I would go and stand under the marble statue if I were you, Kevin. That might work out well for you in the end.
Wow. All right. Thanks. That is harsh. This is a very violent podcast, Alex.
You are using like soapstone marble, right?
I have no idea. Nope.
I have no idea what that is, but I know soap makes bubbles and bubbles are light. So if you use soapstone marble, which may or may not be a thing, it won't hurt.
There we go.
Falls on you.
Well, but they're light, but they don't float.
Well, it depends on the density of the air.
Helium marble, though.
Maybe.
There we go.
Depends on how dense the helium in the marble is.
Well, we know how dense helium is.
Well, you can make it like dense. You can change the air density.
But that's not the helium part.
Yes, it is.
No, you can't change the density of helium, Alex.
Sure you can. No. You just put more of it in the same size container.
That's not the density of helium. That's the density of some arbitrary thing containing some partially helium amount.
No. If you have 100%...
I agree. We shouldn't record these on Fridays. Neither of us are doing particularly well in this video. Anyway, it's a good video to go ahead and watch. The thing actually that I took away that I thought was even more kind of important is the whole... Because he talks about some of the reasons why that scientists aren't malicious, usually.
No.
You can argue in some cases, like, I don't know, the vaccine guy might be one where I'd be like, maybe he's an evil person. Like, maybe.
The guy who bought the vaccines for like $12 and then resold them all for like $1 million, that guy?
No. The guy who's like, hey, vaccines cause autism. No, they don't.
Yeah,
I was lying.
Yeah.
I think maybe that guy's not like oh, shoot, bad statistics. Whoops. Maybe that guy's a jerk. But for the most part, there are reasons why science is conducted in certain ways that lead us toward these bad assumptions. So, for example, generally not publishing reproduction studies.
Interesting.
That if you go like, hey, we found the quark, and then you go like, I'm going to look for the quark, and hey, I didn't find the quark. Generally, journals aren't likely to publish those.
Yeah, but isn't quark usually at his bar?
That is very true. You're transitioning early. We're still on this story.
Well, I don't know if I'm transitioning. I'm just suggesting where you might find quark.
That is true. But if you were to look somewhere else and not find quark, generally the space journals aren't going to publish that research. I don't know. So generally, you were incentivized to try and find crazy hypotheses, and that there's more of a penalty for not getting published than there is for publishing something with no results or publishing stuff that is wrong. And so we kind of have these warped incentives, which to me says down with journals.
Down with money.
Journals.
Money.
I hate journals. I hate journals.
I hate money. We just get rid of money. It solves all these problems.
All right. Yeah. You get rid of your money first, and then I'll...
Sure.
All
okay.
Right.
All right. Here's money. There, I got rid of it.
Wow. It's a good thing we have video. Okay.
You have video evidence.
Yep, video evidence. Alex has completely gotten rid of all of his money.
I do.
Gonna live a life
no
of
more money.
Scientific, ethical poverty.
No money. It's empty. There. I've gotten rid of all my money.
All right. But yeah, I don't like journals, man. Journals make me angry. And also just so yes, obviously there are going to be some incentives toward what gets published. But for one thing, like the idea that we have a culture of academia that is based around publishing rates as a metric for tenure is probably a really stupid, bad idea.
I totally agree.
But it also really bothers me that all of these journals are closed. If the journals are going to be closed, then basically the journals should not be publicly accessible at all. That it should not be tabloid writers and media writers that are looking at the abstracts for these papers and going like, hey, chocolate cures cancer. Particularly because, and like there's I put an example in the show notes that I was going to talk about something about, quantum computing, but that's behind a $25 paywall. So we're going to have to talk about that next week after I've saved up the money so that I can look at it and read it, figure out, not just talk about from the abstract. But especially when we're dealing with things where these numbers may be spurious or there may be reproduction studies that we're not able to do things. How are we supposed to know anything if the real information, the real science that is being done is guarded and gated, and particularly the numbers, the confidence intervals, and the steps to reproduce, and the actual experiments run, and the samples, the population size of the experiment, which is often so tiny. Like, hey, we gave 5 fat people an extra glass of water. None of them lost weight. Ergo, water doesn't matter. Or, whatever. Water doesn't matter. But so often the sample size is so small, but you don't know because that's not something that gets picked up, and it's information that's not available unless you pay $25 or happen to be enrolled at a university that pays the journal their license.
I mean, we've had this discussion before. We should just give all information away for free.
Yep. I agree. Oh, man, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? It would fix academic journals. It would fix all the copyright misery. We'd be able to start creating derivative works again. It'd be huge for creativity. Get rid of patents, and medicine would be super, super cheap. Yeah. Everything would be amazing.
Movies would be free. You could watch every movie for free.
Yes. Yeah.
If it's their information. I could take all your money because all information should be free, so I could have your bank account numbers and all that stuff.
I do wonder if you had a... Well, okay. All of encryption, all of those numbers are free. Yes. Your RSA key is free. It's free and open. I do sort of wonder if you had an environment where basically we did have some laws that just said like, no, copyright cannot be a thing, or copyright can only be a thing for like 5 years or whatever. And would we have an economy? I mean, because obviously you do need to fund science and you do need to fund creation of stuff. I think the argument to be made now is that, hey, maybe 1 billion years plus the author's lifetime is enough time for them to make their money. And it's not going to incentivize them to make further stuff.
Or even too much time, really. 1 billion years.
Yeah.
Even life of the author plus 75 is stretching it.
That seems, to me, life of the author, that should be it. Like there's no incentive. Like the argument is that I could sell my after death rights to somebody for a profit, right? So I'm like, I'm going to create this amazing book, but man, if I can only make the amount of money that I can make in my lifetime, well, that sucks. But if I can sell the right to some company, the ability to publish it after I'm dead so that they'll pay me in advance on that I can enjoy while I am alive. Well, maybe that's the thing that pushes me over the threshold of like, hey, let's actually make stuff. And that's kind of the argument for copyright. But yeah, to me, I would say like maybe 5 years. Like maybe that's it. That 5 years would be good for me. I would be perfectly happy to say anything that I make is public domain after 5 years.
Yeah, so would I.
Like, doesn't matter. Like even if I decide to make movies, if I decide to write a book, I don't care. Just like after 5 years, do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is code is copyrighted, right?
Yeah.
So Google has been around for more than 5 years. So you think like their logo should not be copyrighted after 5 years?
Well, the copyright and trademark are different. Trademark is more of a consumer protection argument.
Okay.
The idea that you can trademark McDonald's and I can't come up with another company that is red and has yellow arches and call it McDonald's, because then people go in and like, oh, it's actually, I'm serving salmonella, and then McDonald's is damaged for that. You know, basically the idea is that trademarks are there so that consumers can distinguish between different entities.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So Google would theoretically be perfectly fine. That's kind of a separate.
Yeah, I mean their code changes. Like I doubt they use much of their 5-year-old code. Yeah, and I doubt it's important code that they haven't already open sourced. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I could see 5 years. Unless I'm afraid if you come up with some super good algorithm that could potentially be, I don't know what.
Well, I guess like the big question, like the big, like, so Disney is the big troll of copyright. And they have been for a very long time. They were the force behind the MCA. I believe they were the force behind the one in the 1980s that extended it from like 50 plus author to like 70 plus author. And generally, they're very copyright heavy. The argument that you have to make is that so let's take 10 years as the example. Okay. So Lucas makes Star Wars. 10 years later, anybody can make a Star Wars movie. Right. The argument that you have to make right now is that The Force Awakens is better than everything that would have been made if anybody could have made a Star Wars movie since the 80s. I think that's a very hard argument. Like, yes, it is very expensive to make The Force Awakens. I think it's really hard to say, like, this outweighs everything that would have happened if anybody could make a Star Wars movie.
Okay, see, I would actually argue that, well, and I'm kind of afraid that movie companies would sort of overuse this, but I think if you make a sequel, I don't think you should, like, the original movie should have some sort of extension based on the sequel, because I think the sequel is effectively, like, extending the life of the work.
I don't know. I see what you're saying.
Because
but then basically I could just create a sequel every 10 years in perpetuity. Well, granted, Hollywood's doing that anyway.
Right. But yeah, I would sort of further incentivize them to do so. That's the issue. Okay. But I think it de-incentivizes them if they're losing stuff. And so we might not have had Empire, which is arguably the best Star Wars movie. It's arguably it might even be the best Star Trek movie. No, it's not the best. It's the worst Star Trek movie. Empire Strikes Back is the worst Star Trek movie.
Oh man, actually, I would watch that. Just like the Klingons, just like invading everywhere.
What? The Klingon Empire Strikes Back?
Yes, the Klingon Empire Strikes Back.
Okay, we're going to make that now.
Well, because, Michael Dorn never got to really do enough Star Trek. We need to get him some work.
He was in more episodes of Star Trek than anyone else.
Yes.
More.
Yeah, more than anybody. And which is weird because, I don't know. Yeah. I never really liked Worf episodes. I liked Worf as a character. I hated Worf episodes.
Yeah, well, I think some of them are some of the lowest rated, so you're not alone.
Okay.
Yeah. You're not alone in that. I never particularly minded them. I wouldn't call them my favorite. But.
Didn't generally mind them, but some of them just like, okay, come on.
I liked his kid. His kid had a good name.
Alexander. Well, there you go. Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
A+ naming skills. Worf's estranged wife.
Oh, man. So speaking of ethics, which we weren't, but copyright law sort of slightly relates to ethics.
It's ethical to name your children Alexander.
So. All right. So speaking of that. So we've talked about the trolley problem many times. I don't even need our continuity editor to remind me of the fact that we've talked about the trolley problem many times.
Yep.
But
I agree.
We're talking about it again.
We are. You're not just bringing it up for no reason?
Well, no, because the trolley problem has now advanced. There have been breakthroughs in the trolley problem.
Trolleys now have retro future thrusters attached to them to go really fast.
There is a site out there that I think is really, really cool. It's moralmachine.mit.edu. There'll be a link in the show notes.
I know where MIT is.
Where is that?
Just over there.
Just point for those watching the video stream.
It's over there.
Right, that direction. So slightly up, and so in that corner of the room.
Not really up. MIT is just in the corner of my room.
Right. So they've released this thing, and basically it is the trolley problem, but for self-driving cars. So, Alex, imagine you are a self-driving car.
Beep, beep.
Thank you. That's exactly the problem that you're encountering. There are people in your way.
Beep, beep.
You are going 60 down a road, and you're about to run into a lot of people. Now, you can swerve and hit a roadblock, killing everybody in the car.
Beep, beep.
Or you can go straight and kill the people outside of the car.
So, as a car,
Alex,
I'm going to be acting...
don't talk.
Beep, 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 beep.
So what do you do, Alex?
Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep.
Alrighty. Yeah. Well, so the idea is that this... Yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of talked you into a corner on that one.
Beep.
So what do you do, Alex? Do you hit the people outside of the car?
Well, I think cars should act in their own best interest.
In the car's own best interest?
Yes.
Okay.
So
if
the car should minimize damage to itself.
If you are a self-driving car and you're empty and you have the choice of hitting a lot of people,
correct.
The choice of hitting the Pope,
yep,
and the Dalai Lama, and Beyonce,
yep.
or crashing into a wall,
a pool of lava.
Which brings up the question of why are the Pope, the Dalai Lama, and Beyonce next to a pool of lava?
We'll come to that later, Kevin.
Right, okay,
we'll come to that later.
That's ethics level too. All right,
right? Yeah, we gotta get to the basic. Yeah, no, I think the car should act in its own self-interest and not go into the pool of lava.
Well, so this website basically goes through a bunch of different examples, and then deals with people of different ages. For example, what if you're about to hit an elderly person and there are kids in the car? They also try and look at latent racism and sexism as well. And basically you can click through and basically like, here are the two options that the car can do. You choose one. And then they will go like, hey, these are the tendencies that you portray. Yeah. Did you go ahead and do this, Alex?
I did not.
Oh, okay. I did.
I didn't realize it was there. I missed it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fun. Oh, yeah, because we got the whole twirl down thing. I wish the show notes would not do that, or would auto twirl down.
I only saw the TechCrunch article, so
you put the TechCrunch article in there.
Oh, did I?
Yes.
Well, that's why I don't know anymore.
I mean, because you added a TechCrunch article to that TechCrunch article, and so by Ernie Bray, and it asks us to consider the following scenario: self-driving car is rounding a corner lined with pedestrians on the right shoulder when an oncoming car veers into its lane. How should the robot driver respond? Should it steer into the pedestrian to avoid a head-on collision? Should it risk its passengers' lives by steering leftward over an embankment? These are choices that we have to, at least in theory, we've got to have some sort of rule for resolving.
Yeah. I think most of these problems can actually be resolved by installing a bunch of springs on the other side of the car so it can just jump up and over the people in front of it.
Right.
Like, so many of these problems would be solved if
But then we'd also have to get rid of tunnels.
I guess you could put it inside a tunnel, sure. But then you just put, like, a phase discriminator on the car so it can phase through the tunnel.
All right.
Actually, that would solve most of the problems.
What if we just... So, when you go bowling with a little kid... And they put just
can't say I've done that a bunch, but okay.
With your little siblings or whatever, or when you were little, and they put the little bouncy things up in the in the gutters. Yep. We'd have that, but for roads.
Okay.
And then everyone's fine.
We kind of already have those. We have divided highways.
Yeah, no, those aren't bouncy though.
And
those are more
rails.
like crashy. We need something that's a little more bouncy.
All right, we'll install goop.
Goop. All right, goop. Goop will solve the problem. Well, no, I was interested to look at this. So I went through and I did this, and basically it didn't tell me I was racist or sexist.
That's very good for you, Kevin.
It didn't tell me I was ageist, which is also good. Well, age is an interesting question.
Yeah, I agree.
Is that, if you have the choice, so basically if you're in the position of like, I'm going to kill someone who is 90 or I'm going to kill a 3-year-old, is there a decision that the car should be making?
Yeah. I mean, and I think there's sort of a utilitarian argument there.
Right.
Because, a younger person is going to give a lot more to society than an older person, theoretically, just sort of as an average.
Right.
You can't make generalizations like that, but like computers work on averages and statistics, and statistically speaking, that's the case.
So the one thing that they did identify as a kind of a bias for me was I used a particular heuristic, and I was interested to see if that actually picked this up. But when everything was equal, so you're dealing with the same amount of lives lost either way, I generally just preferred inaction. So if the car is in one lane and it is going 60 miles an hour, then it is just going to continue going 60 miles an hour. And the consequences being whatever.
Why not brake?
What's that?
Well, theoretically, brakes.
Well, no, theoretically you brake as well, but basically it's sort of the same as the manual trolley problem, is that we have sort of this intuitive instinct that if you don't engage in the scenario of flipping the railroad track, you're not at fault. It's fine.
You're an isolated system,
right? And I think that I sort of stand by that with self-driving cars, not for the same reason, but in the sense that I feel like if a car is stuck between two terrible scenarios, the one that is where its output, where its future state is most similar to what its current state is the most predictable from an outsider perspective.
Yeah.
So for example, if I'm racing, so if a car is racing down the street and there's someone in the crosswalk and I can swerve and kill the passengers, I don't. Because it is much more likely that if we know that a machine stuck between these positions is going to maintain its current behavior, it's much more likely that we can change our own behavior around that.
Yeah, get out of the crosswalk.
Right.
Yeah.
Or we just learn, never be in a crosswalk when self-driving cars are around, because, man, those things are crazy. This is what they will always do. I think it's more important that, their decisions are consistent and predictable so that we can design our own behavior around whatever that policy ends up being. As much as I would like to say, let's indemnify everybody. The software engineer doesn't have to know what the car is going to do, because then he doesn't have to deal with the guilt of it. The company doesn't have to know. The government doesn't have to know. It'd be it'll flip a die, right? It'll flip a coin and pick one.
Yeah.
On the one hand, yes, it means that no one bears moral responsibility. In a situation with the
guy who invented dice.
The guy who invented
dice.
On the one hand, I like that because then no individual bears personal responsibility for the choice of the car. Assuming that you're dealing with a situation where death is equally likely in whatever sort of decision. But yeah, I'd also rather it be predictable, because I feel like then we can design our society around knowing what the outcome will be in those sorts of situations.
No, I 100% agree. These rules need to be decided and standardized fairly soon. Yeah. Which is going to be a fun times with Fun Times McGee.
Is that the name of your self-driving car company?
Yes, Fun Times McGee.
Oh man, it's like a sequel to Herbie the Love Bug. Fun Times McGee.
I loved Herbie. Herbie Goes Bananas was my favorite.
Oh man, we are old, Alex.
I am not old. I am Alex.
All right. Oh man, so I get the impression, based on the all caps show note here. Well, actually, no, because I do want to point out, Alex also generally. So occasionally, I'm a little late in getting stories into the show notes. As in, I put them in that same day. And so Alex will, make a note in the episode floor. He'll be like, yo, what's up? And then I'll go oh, okay. This time, I added, 5 different stories. And then Alex goes in and he writes, hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm kind of confused. Is this a topic you wanted to... But this time you put it in quotes as well. Well, so no, is this you wanted to discuss... The hey what's upness of the show notes?
No, you misunderstood what that was.
This is very common with us in show notes.
You hadn't written the sort of intro block, the welcome block yet.
Okay.
So I wrote it for you this time.
Okay, no, well, I apologize.
Thank you.
Because I wrote a very long. No, generally I save the intro block to the very end, so then if we add stories throughout the week or a few minutes before or whatever,
I know.
Then we can billboard.
Wanted
stuff.
to.
Okay. Yeah, well, too late now because we're recording this semi-live.
Semi-live, except no one but us is watching.
We're recording it live. We're not broadcasting it live.
Correct.
So yeah, no going back and changing the... That sounds fun. I'll just play the intro and then, hey, sup? And there we go. We go into the show.
Yep. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, man. I really do want to try and improve the theme music, though, because...
Well, you could add a lot more bassoons and ukuleles, and I think that would really improve it.
Yeah.
I have a ukulele. I could go get a ukulele.
No, the really sad thing is that intro music is probably like the best that I could pull off with my current understanding of music.
You could add
design.
bassoons. Bassoons are so easy.
I don't know enough. That's the thing is because I was never in. That's the problem with being just a piano guy. Is like never in band, never in orchestra. I don't know. Like,
what a bassoon is.
I know what a bassoon is, but I don't know generally how you split up, how you orchestrate.
I have no idea either.
Like I can play I can play a full orchestra part. Like I can play out of a conductor's score on the piano.
Oh, I see.
Like I can play an entire orchestra's worth of music on a single instrument, but I can't take a single instrument and expand that out to an orchestra. Like I don't know. Like, oh, here's a theme. Is that supposed to be strings? Is that supposed to be trumpets? I have no idea. Like
no, it's all supposed to be bassoon.
Okay.
That's just the default answer. Like it's always C, it's always bassoon.
I mean, generally it's a matter of like I go and I lay in like a small piano track and I'm like, what does this seem like it's missing? And I'm like, xylophone. Xylophone is always like the thing that I go to right away. Like
that's just a weird piano.
No, because it's percussion that is tuned. Like you could do a marimba too, but that's a little too.
But it's basically a piano.
Yeah, but it's not. But you don't have piano.
But it's basically a piano,
right? But you generally don't have piano in orchestral music, so like that's what you get. You could go with a
bad
harpsichord,
orchestral music,
I guess.
But that's bad orchestral music. The best orchestral music has a grand piano in it. Like Joe Higashi's works always have a piano in it.
I am not familiar with this person.
He does all of the music for Hayao Miyazaki's films.
Oh, okay.
And he plays the piano.
That's sort of different. I mean, like the movie soundtracks generally do have piano industry because it's very easy to transition in and out of, and a piano kind of does generally pretty decently on its own. I
guess, but it's not always there, and I don't know. I really like his soundtracks. I think he's one of my favorite composers of all time, and it really makes those movies for me.
Nice.
What were we talking about again?
I have no idea. The
intro. Have no idea. Oh yeah. We're back at the beginning of the podcast. We've looped around.
I don't know. I may need to. Do you know people who are good at orchestrating things?
No.
I would love to just be like, hey, a person who knows about orchestrating things, can I pay you a certain amount of money? Like, take this bad version of this thing that I wrote, make it sound good, and
I could call Joe Higashi, but I don't speak Japanese, so it might not go that well.
All right, well, give it a shot. Let me know how it goes.
All right, I will.
And in the meantime, it is time to talk about Star Trek.
I like Star Trek.
The Final Frontier. These are the voyages of some starship whose name do we know? Discovery. Oh, that's the name of it as well. Okay. These are the voyages of the starship Discovery. Its continuing mission to seek out new life, new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has ever been, ever. Except in the future. Right. Oh, right. Oh, yeah. So so this was the problem is that you added this a little bit late. And then, so Alex in the show notes has Star Trek in all caps, and he has a link. And this is a Reddit that is just a curation of other links. Yes. So Kevin's like, Kevin, right before we start recording, has been messing around with setting up all the video recording stuff. Going through, writing all the show notes. And then he goes, all right, I should double check and make sure I get them pull quotes from all of these. And then he looks at the Star Trek one and goes, oh my God, this is a day's worth of clicking around and messing around on the internet. I added it yesterday. It was brand new information yesterday. We couldn't have added it any sooner. Man. Okay. So, yes, we have information. Oh, man, the first headline here makes me sad. Okay, what is it? Well, the first headline is, we'll be set in the Prime universe. 10 years. That's good. No, wait. Yes, Prime universe is the original series universe. Oh, good. The not reboot bad universe. Correct. Okay. That is the spin-off universe. Well, sort of. No, because now it means that you can't even watch it without knowing that none of it matters anymore. It's a tangent time. Haven't you ever seen Back to the Future 2? Doc explains it fairly well. All right, so looking through this Reddit, which so Star Trek will be set in the Prime universe. We should mention what we're talking about first. We're talking about Star Trek Discovery, which is a brand new, made for the internet Star Trek TV series. Oh man, can you made for the internet? Is it bad that you say made for the internet and then I immediately go like, oh, so crap? We make stuff for the internet and still just the made for the internet. Oh, yeah. Well. It's the straight to DVD of our age.
Well, the first episode is going to premiere on traditional cable networks, the traditional CBS broadcasting networky thing.
Right.
It's not cable, it's aerial.
Right.
And then they're going to sort of be like, well, if you want to watch more of that, you have to subscribe to our thingamadoodad on the internet.
Unless you're not in the US, in which case it's on Netflix, like
Right.
a normal thing.
Right. Yeah.
So if you're in America, die in a fire.
Well, or
Love
just
CBS.
get a VPN and pretend to be in not America.
Basically. But then deal with the latency of that.
It's Netflix. It can buffer. It doesn't matter.
Depending on what Netflix device you use. Like if you use the Xbox Netflix or the Samsung TV Netflix, then it doesn't buffer very much. Which is frustrating.
Well, okay. Well, I don't usually VPN my Netflix because
I don't usually VPN my Netflix either, because usually it's way better being a US Netflix subscriber than a
I know people who VPN into the USA to use the better Netflix that we have.
Yes.
This
would be like I'm going to VPN into Australia to enjoy all of their television programs. Like, no, that's not what happens.
People do that with the UK for Doctor Who, though.
That is true. People will go because they've got that. How the heck does the BBC have iPlayer? That feels like maybe they don't have good trademark law over there, but that seems like that's a little misleading. That feels like it should not be a.
So you have to remember the BBC is entirely taxpayer funded.
Yes,
but they make all their money that way.
Yes, but the idea that they call it iPlayer—that's the thing that messes me up. Like that seems like
government. It's a government thing. A government can do what it wants.
No, governments can't just do whatever they want. They're still theoretically accountable to their own laws. We sue our own government all the time over here.
I guess, but Apple isn't just going to sue the government of the UK.
Yes, they would. Verizon sues our government all the time. Apple sues our government all the time. Facebook sues our government.
Verizon.
Speaking of which, did you know that Verizon now owns every company?
Yes, actually, it's true. Even I'm owned by Verizon. So
exactly. This podcast is brought to you by Verizon.
From an alternate timeline.
Right. You're just covering us for legal reasons.
No, it's true. We are brought to Verizon in an alternate timeline.
Okay. Man, Verizon owns everything now.
You know,
it's crazy.
Technically infinite timelines. Eventually there'll be one of them that thinks they own our timeline's version of the podcast.
I read a book called Dark Matter. I think that you will enjoy because it's heavily focused on multiverse type stuff.
I mean, I don't need to read a book. I just, experience it every day.
Well, it is just, I just figured I'd throw it out there because it seemed relevant. If you're interested in reading fiction that's, kind of uses multiverses like a lark as just sort of a plot device for the story, go ahead and pick that up. That is Dark Matter by an author.
An author.
It is by Blake Crouch. And it was released just a few days ago, actually, I think.
And you've already read it?
Oh, no. July 26th.
Are you caught up with all of the books in humanity? So you're just, reading the new ones as they come out?
Yeah, I'm just there's nothing left for me to read. So authors, if you could get on it, ugh.
All right, maybe I should read a book. At least you would buy it.
I definitely would.
I would run out of material.
Exactly. No, I mean, it's mostly that, I go to Audible when I run out of my 24 or whatever. And I go and I look and I go, oh, what are the new things? So there are a couple that I've read that have come out just in the past few weeks. It's not that I'm on some sort of list going I can't wait for this author's next thing.
You just see what's out there.
I just see this and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I take that back. I did read Penn Jillette's book, and that was one that I was waiting for.
Well, I'm sure we all have authors that we like to, watch. Right. Most of mine are dead, unfortunately.
So when are they coming out with the next? So that mailing list is kind of dried up then.
Yeah. I'm
sorry.
That's where the multiverse comes in handy.
Okay. There you go. Bring it back around. Okay, so
to what?
So Star Trek. I don't know. Okay.
Star Trek Discovery.
You brought us back from 3 tangents to still a fairly heavy nested tangent, but I'm going to bring us back. Star Trek Discovery. Yes. So this is CBS, which is being terrible and putting it on their CBS exclusive distribution network, which will probably mean that this will not be picked up for another season, or that CBS will go, oh, maybe we should put this on a platform that people can view. But
I think Netflix will save them from that. I actually, because I used to think the same thing, that they would never get a second season. I think the Netflix numbers would be high enough, just because Star Trek is sort of a global phenomena, that it will save the show and they'll get a second season.
Well, you do. I mean, basically, you have to have a big international audience for it. Basically, yeah. But what has to happen is then the international audience has to be larger than the U.S. audience, which is weird.
I don't think it has to be larger because.
Well, I mean, it has to be so big that people are like, hey, maybe we should just do this in the U.S. too.
Right. Yeah.
Which is going to be kind of weird.
Well, no, but I think there'll be at least enough people that it'll be profitable for them.
I suppose, you know what, also, if CBS releases it and then when they release season 2, if they do renew it for season 2, if they put season 1 on US Netflix.
Yeah.
And then they go, hey, look, every nerd binge watched this a year after we made it because now they can get to it.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's something that'll help.
Well, the problem is most of those nerds would have already gotten to it, whether or not they got to it that way or not.
That's the thing.
The legal way or not. So
okay, this is 10 years before Star Trek, the original series.
Yeah, so it's a prequel. But
when
it's not
was
as
Enterprise?
So Star Trek Enterprise was the foundation of the Federation about 150 years before the original series. So I believe
this was back. So we had Enterprise, which was like our science, but a little bit futuristic, and then you had the original series, which is like, oh my god, we've lost the capability to special effects.
Yes,
and then you had Next Generation, which is like, we love the 80s ish, like and
80s and 90s. Yep.
Oh man, my chair's getting squeaky. I can't use this for podcasting anymore.
All right, well, sit on the floor.
All right.
That's your new.
All right, let me just read through these links that are on Reddit, and then we could kind of dive into chatting because I want to make sure that we do get to these. So apparently, it takes place. It takes events mentioned in previous iterations, but never fully explored. The incident is not the Romulan War, which is interesting because the original series, there's the neutral zone is a relatively new thing.
Yeah.
It will have a female lead. The lead will be a human, but not captain. It will be a lieutenant commander with some caveats.
Yes.
It will be a 13-episode season. Have a few more aliens than normally in Star Trek. Having a gay character will be serialized, but each weekly chapter will also feature close-end stories, so traditional Star Trek-y, traditional just drama.
Yeah.
Let's see. So close to the Kirk era that you can play with a lot of the old design from the original series. Yep. Not subject to broadcast standards, so able to get away with stuff that you can't do on, you can't say that on television.
Just not on the first episode.
Right. Spock's mother might be featured.
Yeah, I thought that was, why did they bring that? Like, I thought that was a very weird thing. Like, Spock's mother might show up. Okay.
Yeah, that'll just remind me to be sad about Leonard Nimoy again. Thanks. Anyway. Let's see. And yeah, lead not being captain. Well, we've seen 6 series from a captain's point of view. All right. A series will center around an event referenced in the original series. Ooh, there's some speculation time.
Yeah.
One of the alien characters named Saru. There will be robots in Star Trek Discovery. You can bend space and time. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Section 31, baby.
Oh, man. And let's see. The rest of the cast also feature an openly gay actor to play one of the male leads, female admiral, male Klingon captain, male admiral, male advisor, and British male doctor. And, oh, God, CBS All Access information. There will be ads about 12 minutes per hour.
But they might have an ability to pay even more and not have any ads. Maybe.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes. The head of CBS All Access says, and I'm just going to quote what they're quoting here, so I'm assuming it's accurate. It's the lightest ad load you can get.
No, well, no.
No. Here's what you don't understand. Every person. The lightest ad load you can get is no ads at all.
Well, no, it's actually negative ads.
Oh, that's true.
That's technically lighter. So if you get negative, if you have a show with negative infinite ads, it will delete every other ad in existence.
God, that'd be fantastic. Space, the final frontier. Don't buy Coke. These are the voyages. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. But I think you called it.
Okay, so yes, Spock's mother seems weird to me. The center around an event referenced in the original series. Now, this scares me a lot because, Well, especially because they're like, oh, you can bend space and time and robots and stuff. So this reminds me of a lot of the original series episodes where they have the God, human, man, child character.
Where Lincoln shows up?
That, or what is it, Trelane? Not Trelane. Somebody.
I don't know. Spock's brain comes to mind.
No, not Spock's brain. I'm talking about basically the ones where you have
Olympus.
A very immature God character.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Olympus was one, but there was the other one. I think it was Trelane or something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Well, there was literally the baby that had a giant head.
Yeah. But, I mean, they were not... So Star Trek: The Original Series was not... It was not really Arthur C. Clarkean science fiction, shall we say.
No. They had a dog with a horn on it, though. That was pretty cool.
That was very futuristic for the... very impressive for the time.
It was. It was pretty sweet.
They had to buy, like spirit gum and stuff and an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
They had to invent some way to,
attach the ice cream cone to the dog. And not have him eat it. That was the hard bit.
Well, the other, this whole thing of there's a female lead who will be not the captain.
Right. So it's theorized that it may take place like at different points. So like time will pass. Unlike in Star Trek, most of the other seasons, like nothing ever changed episode to episode. You could technically watch them in any order,
except for Deep Space Nine. Like Deep Space Nine tried to pull away from that,
and so did Voyager.
Yeah, and they got away with it less than they wanted to. So then they're all like, "We're going to go write Battlestar Galactica. Goodbye, Star Trek."
Yes, and so I think they're going to try to have more of sort of an evolving, cast, and so that people change up, and like the Lieutenant Commander gets her own command, and then the Lieutenant Commander becomes an admiral, or then time travel happens. So now these 3 episodes are set when she is a captain, and then time travel, and she's like a robot. I don't know.
But here's the thing that makes me a little bit concerned about that is that it implies, like, yes, all of these Star Trek series have had captains, but the implication in like, oh, well, we can't have a captain means like the captain matter. Like it really, with the exception of the original series, it was designed to be an ensemble show.
I agree.
Like the fact that like, oh no,
but
we can't have a captain
argue.
lead. Like, why do you even have a lead? Like to me, you should be like, hey, out of our 13 leads, one of them is a female lieutenant commander. Like that'd be something I would expect them to say.
You can't argue that Picard wasn't the main character of The Next Generation, though.
You can argue that Data was the main character of that show.
But like Picard has the.
But you certainly can't argue
Picard
that for Deep Space Nine and Voyager. You cannot argue in any sense.
No, you're right. For Deep Space Nine and Voyager, I think really did pull off that ensemble. But I do think that Picard is the main character of The Next Generation. He had like the first line, he had the last line. He narrated over most of the episodes. Like he was.
Oh no. So I'm not arguing that it's happened, but I'm arguing that when you say like, hey, we have this lead and they're not a captain, they're a lieutenant commander. You're saying this is the spotlight character. Now you're saying we have a spotlight character. I'm like, why? But
I bet they advertised like Jean-Luc Picard. I mean, like, I bet they said like he's the main character.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying, like, it makes me nervous about this series that you're gonna have. Like, I don't want to follow I don't want to follow like Walter White in Star Trek. Like, I don't want to follow a single character.
I would. That would be really funny.
That'd be crazy.
He falls into a time hole and like winds up like.
But I don't want to follow a single character. I don't want to follow a lead character in a Star Trek universe. I want to see a Star Trek ensemble. I want to see.
Oh, and they describe a Star Trek ensemble.
Maybe
they literally describe what that ensemble is going to be composed of.
Maybe.
So I'm not that worried. I'm staying hopefully optimistic.
Okay, so what is this event referencing the original series? I'm imagining that it is like the Olympus or something. That's the thing that does scare me. Is like, what if it is like one of these? Like, oh yeah, there's this omnipotent god being. It's messing with space and time.
It was never shown, so it was just something mentioned. Like, well, Captain, we had remember the time recursion of 3792. Which would be far in the future for Star Trek, but whatever. Yeah. So 20. Remember the Star Trek incursion? That doesn't even make sense. I don't know. So it's like it'd be some sort of offhand remark that they're just trying to build on.
I suppose.
Is my understanding of what they're saying, but like eventually, like I think a couple of times they come across some scientists who like I've been working on this for 3 decades, and so maybe like it would be just him, but like prior. I don't know. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, I suppose.
It's been mentioned, so there'll be some sort of continuity, but
I know it does make me a little nervous because the original series you had all of these sort of immature god characters, and I think that the Next Generation did a very good thing
with Q.
They just billboarded it right at the top. They hung a lampshade on it. They're like, "Hey, we're Star Trek. We know that we have these baby god characters that we use for plot devices shamelessly.
Yeah,
we're just going to have a very self-aware version of that, and he's going to be the only one."
Right.
Like we promise, if it's not a Q episode, then you're fine.
And he'll only show up like
fiction.
once or twice a season.
You can have your space opera, science fantasy stuff when Q is here. When he's not, we're going to be a sci-fi show. Okay, so it's fine.
I think because of that, Q even had some of the strongest episodes.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
because you limited it and you knew like, okay, because that's the problem with the original series is that you went from these whole like, oh, we have McCoy stranded on this planet trying to distill a vaccine. And you're like, why not just magic it? Because magic is part of this universe. Like when you have the way to telegraph to the audience, like these are the rules of the show that we're playing in right now. And like having Q as a separate character meant like, okay, just within this context, we get to be a little crazier.
Yeah. I mean, and especially having Q be like somewhat evil at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like he definitely got tamer as it went on, but he was almost a villain at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Although he's sort of morally ambivalent villain, but
I think it was mostly just there to show, like, wow, Patrick Stewart really does not like being on Star Trek. Like that was
okay.
Like that was basically the theme of the first season. It's like, wow, Patrick Stewart is really like, no, I am above all of this. I am so above this.
Well, the first season was before Riker grew a beard, and then he grew a beard, and everything was fine. Also, John Delancey is amazing.
Yes.
I have the pleasure of meeting John Delancey. He's one of the few people I have an autograph from.
Nice.
And I love Q. Q is amazing. Q Who, Tapestry, some of my favorite episodes of Star Trek.
I don't remember them by name, unfortunately, but I do like the majority of the Qs.
They usually have the letter Q in them.
Well, yes, I do. Yes, I recognize that. I really did like I liked the Q episode on Voyager with the other Q.
Right, yeah.
Who wanted
like the
to
Civil
not
War.
be alive anymore. Yeah.
The literal Civil War Q.
The Civil War Q. Yes. I thought that was very well done. But it's again, like you can still tell meaningful stories in a fantasy universe.
Oh yeah.
But the problem with the original series is like you had
it blended them.
It blended them, and it didn't make it clear, like, all right, these are the times when it's this, and here's the times when it's not.
Yeah.
And so there were episodes where, like, we want you to take this seriously and realize that the stakes are very sciencey. And
then Abraham Lincoln would show up.
And Abraham Lincoln would show up in the middle of space, floating around, and then evil Kirk would turn, and yeah.
Dramatic music would play.
Yes.
Yep.
The soundtrack for the original series was something else.
It was pretty good.
It was pretty something. All right, so we are a little past an hour. So Alex, what is your paragraph of thoughts about all of this Star Trek news?
Oh, well, I'm super excited, and I think that they actually might pull it off, and I'm really hoping that it doesn't wind up really good and then get canceled because of their stupidity and
it isn't on Fox, so that's a start. Right?
I know, but like Star Trek,
like Whedon is not associated with it. It's not on Fox. It has everything going for it.
Yes, you're right. But what it doesn't have going for it is that they're
a distribution channel.
They're experimenting with it.
Yeah, but you have to.
I know. I just wish they could have done it with something that wasn't Star Trek because we don't have a Star Trek TV show. Well, I wish they could have made a Star Trek. You have to experiment with Star Trek, with any Star Trek, with any continuation of any series. I know.
And I think I fully expect to be angry at season 1, and then if it continues to like the rest of it. Right? I mean,
if they have a season 2, some character needs to grow a beard. I don't care who it is.
It can be the female lieutenant commander.
Sure. There you go. Perfect. Or a robot. I don't care if the robot wears a beard. He just puts one on. Like the first episode of season 2 is him like gluing a beard to his face. Perfect.
Well, here's something that I do want to ask about. Is it because there is an obsession with like, let's go back and explore the original series. Let's go back and explore the original series. Let's go back and explore the original series. Can we finally be at the point where Next Generation and everything else counts as nostalgia? Like that it's not that, because I guess at least my understanding is like we have to play to the Kirk thing because that's when like we need to get new nerds and old nerds. Like, can't we be like, hey, old nerds watch DS9 and Voyager? Like, let's have.
So there's a link buried deep in that Reddit page of links that talk about somewhere, I don't really know where it is. It links to a tweet by the showrunner who is like, all good things, when someone asked him, you know, why can't we see after the Next Generation? Which is interesting because All Good Things is also
not the end of the Next Generation cast at all.
Well, no, but it was the last episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation,
right?
And it seems to be hinting that we might see that. We might, like, I think that's when Section 31 sort of starts kicking in and the whole time travel degook.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I'm not.
And Admiral Janeway and Admiral Janeway and the plot device of doom.
Admiral Janeway and her super armor of awesome. Her plot armor. Her literal plot armor.
Oh, man. In case you don't notice, I outrank you.
You do a really fantastic Janeway.
Thank you. It's just Katharine Hepburn. That's because that's what, like, she's been imitating Katharine Hepburn her entire life. So, yeah.
Oh, man.
Alrighty. So, yes, Star Trek. Cautiously optimistic.
I'm hopefully optimistic. I'm not just cautiously optimistic anymore. Oh. I'm building up a hope.
Alrighty.
I'm building up real hope.
Don't screw it. When does this come out?
January.
Oh, God. That's very soon.
And it doesn't start shooting till October.
What?
No, doesn't start shooting till October.
Oh, man.
But I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic. It's only 13 episodes. It's only 13.
That's enough time to get out to LA, right?
To be an extra, it's shooting in Toronto.
Oh, brilliant. I'm like, I could walk there.
Yeah, but you don't live in Toronto.
That's fine.
And you're not a Canadian citizen.
That's fine, too.
You can contact an agent if you want. But
sure. Agents, come at me. I would love to play a lieutenant commander female lead human, not captain.
I looked into trying to be like a background person.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's just so high profile, you literally have to have an agent to even be a background character, like just to walk by in the background.
Yeah.
And like,
generally, unless
never
you have
acted before.
I think if I remember right, like for the Star Trek motion picture, they did have kind of open casting for, like the undock when they left dry dock. But basically anything else, when you have just like, generally that's like an extras guild type of thing. So unless you need like a throng of people, it's generally closed.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna keep my eye out for Toronto-based large numbers of people needed requests.
Well, fingers crossed, where no one has gone before.
I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll get there. Now we need to like freeze frame for the video part. I don't know how to. It feels weird, and because we cut the stuff. I guess we can just cut it off in the middle of whatever for the video side. All right. I'm gonna stop recording. 0 dropped frames. That is amazing.